All systems go. Clear for liftoff.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Wednesday edition of the NBA show. Got a nice 7-game slate on tap with the 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern slot. But before we go game by game, before I go to the chat, got to bring in my guy Matt after a huge night last night, getting second place in the 3K tournament last night. How you feeling after coming off a big win and really just a huge month over the last couple of weeks or so? You've just been crushing it in multiple different sports.
I appreciate it, man. Yeah, coming off a nice night last night. Changed my core last minute for anyone who was in the Discord. I posted in there, and I changed it on the site. Not like my core was special at all, but the pieces around it were really good, and my core did enough. So with that last game busting, and honestly, I was asleep because I knew I didn't have any pieces and was just hoping to wake up to a game that honestly turned out what it did. I saw Harden, I saw this today, had 28 fantasy points at half and finished with 29, something crazy like that. Only 1 assist in the game. So yeah, those guys were a little bit lower owned than I thought, but still had ownership. And any other game scenario, I think I get past a bunch. So feel lucky, but that's, them's the breaks in DFS. You got to take them when you get them. So yeah, good night. Excited to get back at it tonight with a fun Wednesday slate. Usually a bunch of games, no different tonight. We don't have the last 3 games, but that makes for an exciting night slate, which I know you're going to be in on.
Yeah, potentially. We'll see how the main slate's going first, but yeah, I like that they got rid of those last 3 games in the night. I think it's 3 games in the night, so like you said, but I really don't understand why they had to.
It was so annoying last night.
Yeah, 8 p.m. game too for no apparent reason at all. It's just kind of a weird schedule for them. Yeah, I'll say what's up to some people in chat. Max, what's up, man? Jason, we got Winslow in here. Nade's back again. I guess the NHL is taking a little night off. I got our guy Nate D, Big Ed. What's up, Ed? Evan, how's it going, man? Juice, Perry Bay, as always. Ranger had a big night in NFL, I believe. He's had a big NFL and NBA last week or so, so congrats to you, man. Kid Leiden's in here. Scooter McGavin, Extra QT, Sup Squids. Don't really know what that means, but what's up, Squid? Aaron Rasmus, Ricky Rose, what's going on? Nutradad, NY Steel, Avery Zavala. All right, before we go game by game, I want to get your opinion on the slate as a whole. Get a kind of interesting one, really just Jokic up top as a spend-up option. We don't have the SGAs, the Giannis's, the Wembys on this slate. So what are you thinking from a build perspective on tonight's slate?
It's a little bit weird at first glance because, as you mentioned, we don't have like a ton of spend up options. We do have Jokic, but like that's it. Anthony Davis is slightly over 10K, but after that, we don't have anyone. There is a good amount of value and there's a loaded mid tier. So I'm not exactly sure like what the optimal roster construction to build is yet. I think kind of I'll have a clear approach when we get done talking, but yeah, like just in starting to write the slate plan and stuff, spend up options are at a premium, with Jokic being like really the only elite send-up option you want. There is a ton of value though, and there's a bunch of really good plays in the mid-tier. So excited to hear what you have to say. What do you think about this slate?
Yeah, I definitely think that there could be some value that's going to open up and potentially even in one of these first 2 games. But we obviously have the indie value. So I think that it does make Jokic kind of a priority spend. But like you said, the mid-tier is pretty solid tonight. And I was just kind of looking through some of the perfect lineups on Line Star, which is a pretty cool thing that they have. And I was kind of surprised to see last couple slates, there have been some highly correlated teams that are winning these big tournaments. We had, two nights ago, I believe, was the Suns and the Jazz game where you needed like 5 or 6 pieces. And then last night was the Wizards and the Sixers. So I think that I don't want to go too overboard with it, but I could see having a little bit more correlation within my lineups tonight within the mid tier because it does look pretty strong. But yeah, we'll definitely get a better feel for it as we get closer to lock because this game, the first game of the night, does have some value that could potentially open up some things. Yeah, I'm on Pacific time over here in sunny California, where it's, I guess, Indian summer is going on. It's about like 82 degrees right now, so it's pretty warm. But
I'm also
yeah,
a Line Star guy, so nice to hear
okay.
that you're on that as well. I've been using them forever. I don't like use their projections like
No, yeah, it's great to look for the perfect lineup stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But all right, let's jump right into this first game here. We have the Orlando and heading into Detroit. I think this game does have some decent fantasy appeal right off the bat. I think that these are two pretty underperforming teams in general, but defenses mainly, these have been the strong points of these teams last couple seasons. The defense has been really good for both of them. And then the Magic, kind of having a revamped offense with, adding Desmond Bane and trying to figure that out. They've been playing a lot faster than we've been accustomed to see them with Paulo and Franz, which have been good to see. And then Detroit, I mean, Cade's gotten off to a really, really slow start, but I think that this could be a bounce back spot here. We do have questionable tags on the Pistons side, which could change some things with Asar Thompson questionable with an illness, Karis LeVert, and then Marcus Sasser all questionable. I would think that if Asar misses, then Ron Holland's going to slide into the starting lineup, but they could do something weird. I think that would probably make the most sense, but we'll have to see as we get more information leading up to tip. What are you seeing in this game?
Yeah, so I agree with you. Like from a 30,000 foot view, I think this game is really appealing from a DFS perspective. That said, this isn't the only game appealing. So when you look at some of the other games that are appealing, I don't think this is like the top game on this slate, but I do think there's some pieces certainly worth mentioning that are wildly in play in all formats. I think Orlando looks better than Detroit just from the onset. Paolo and Franz, still very affordable price tags. Paolo has been kind of the bane of my existence on every slate he's been on so far. I haven't played him in his monster ones. I have in his disappointing games. He's got upside at this price tag, though, and the same thing for Franz at $1,000 cheaper. I think this is probably where these guys should be priced, so you're not getting like massive deals on either of them, but they just go along in that sentiment that the mid-tier on this slate is really good. Outside of that, I think you can play Bane, but I think Franz and Paolo would be the priorities. And then I'm with you with Cade. Like he has been really disappointing so far to start the year, averaging slightly under 40 fantasy points per game. You're talking about like a 10K player. You just can't have that. But his upside didn't just vanish in thin air. So like it's there somewhere. This is a good spot. I could see this game being competitive, high scoring, and at very low ownership. I am interested in a bounce back from Cade. I'm well aware that how he's playing, he just hasn't gotten there, and that's well within the realm of possibilities here. But so is the upside. He's not getting ownership. I like Cade in tournaments tonight.
Yeah, definitely agree with you there. I would say on the Magic side, I kind of have the most interest in Desmond Bane here, just the way that the Pistons normally play defense. They've been a team that takes away a ton at the rim, and I just think that it's a pretty good price tag for Bane. His usage has held up, considering he's competing with Paulo and Franz. But yeah, I agree with the guys in chat. It's really just been really tough to figure out if it's going to be a Paulo or Franz night. There's a lot of kind of negative comments around Paulo right now that he may have peaked as a player. I mean,
I saw all that too. The shooting. Someone was comparing him. I can't remember who it was comparing him to Josh Smith.
Josh Smith, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is not that's not a terrible comparison. Josh Smith was fun back in his day, but Paulo is supposed to be a franchise-changing player, and he's just not gotten better at shooting the ball. I mean, it's a huge part of the game. You can't rely on mid-range to win basketball games anymore. I've seen it from the Kings. I mean, they look terrible, but yeah, I don't know. It's a good price tag for Paulo. Matchup could get a lot better as well if Asar were to miss. Although I think Asar would be on Franz and then Tobias would be on Paulo. Tobias did just give up a pretty big game to Jaylen Brown, so there's a little bit of upside for Paulo for sure at this mid 8.5K price tag. But I kind of like Bane the most here a little bit, just kind of taking the ownership into account and the matchup for him. Then agree with you on Cade. I mean, he's underwhelming right now, but this should be a pretty good spot for him to bounce back in a pretty big way. The Magic have been a team that gives a lot of volume to on-ball scorers. They're bottom four in ISO, and then always are a pretty big pick-and-roll funnel defense. And I kind of think it's a sneaky better spot for Cade if Asar were to miss. And the reason being, Asar just provides no floor spacing, and it shrinks the floor. Like we talked about it years past.
Such a great point.
Yeah, I mean, he can't shoot, and it clogs up the paint, clogs up the floor. You can't have Duran and Asar Thompson and Cade on the floor together. It just doesn't really work. So I think taking him out and adding in a Ron Holland or whoever else they might put in just to get a little bit more floor spacing would be a plus for Cade here. So, yeah, I think that's one we got to keep an eye on. I also think that if Asar were to miss and we do get word that Ron Holland is starting, I think that's going to be a tough spot to avoid.
I totally agree with that. Even with a lot of value, like I think he'll stand out. And I see Aaron Rasmus saying Carter best DK value in the game. I don't disagree with that. I mean, he's not a sexy play at 5,400. Like, and I don't know if his price point is going to fit like how I'm building tonight, but I'm fine with playing him. He's probably too cheap. So I think Wendell Carter at 5,400 is at least worth a mention. Fine with it.
Definitely. All right, that takes us into another game. Two pretty competitive Eastern Conference teams. I would say Boston, we'll see what they end up doing towards the end of the season, but Cleveland's going to be one of the top teams in the league. I don't know. This one kind of looks like more of a defensive battle for me. These two teams have been playing really solid defense this season and are known for their defense. I anticipate Boston's going to get a little bit worse as the season progresses, but right now they are playing pretty good. I don't know if I see this game hitting in a really big way where we're going to need players from this game. It would obviously change if we do get word that Josh Minot is starting, because that's going to be a pretty solid value. He played really well last game as they were asking him to play a lot more on-ball defense last game, which they might do again here against Donovan Mitchell. Is anything really standing out to you on either side of this game?
I don't like this game at all from a DFS perspective. I like it from a real-life perspective. And speaking of which, since I don't like this game from a DFS perspective, and I don't have much to talk about, I got a huge bone to pick with you. I was watching the show either yesterday or the day before, heard you talking about the Eastern Conference, and you just casually slipped in that, it'll either be Milwaukee or New York coming out of the East. What happened to my Cavs? I mean, what happened?
I definitely overlooked them. I do think that they'll be up there for sure.
I mean, they lose in the playoffs consistently, but the East stinks.
Yeah, for sure. If there was ever a time for one of those teams like the Knicks or the Cavs to break through in the East, it's got to be this year.
I agree, but obviously I'm just kidding with a bone, just playing around. As far as from a DFS perspective, I think you're kind of grasping at straws to go to this game. Just so many other much better spots. And to your point at the beginning about like wanting to get more correlation, that just limits the amount of other spots you can get to. And I just don't really see this game as one I'm dying to play at all.
Yeah, for sure. There is some guys that are projecting as decent values in this game with Josh Minot and Jalen Tyson. We'll obviously see what the starting lineup looks like. I don't really know if I want to go to Jalen Tyson here just because I think that the Pacers are going to be much, much better, and there's way more just offensive usage to go around for those guys. But I'll say I don't mind Donovan Mitchell in tournaments. He's been really good in his career against Boston since he's come over to the Cavs, averaging about just under 54 DraftKings points per game versus Boston over the last 3 seasons. Obviously, this is a different team than he's facing back then. But if anything, the roster is worse. I mean, there's no Drew Holiday. I don't really think that their pick and roll defense is going to be as good as the numbers say right now with Neemias Queta and all those other guys that they're going to be throwing out there, like Luka Garza. Like he should be able to put up a pretty solid scoring night. Don't know if there's enough upside on this type of slate though. But I would say that he's probably the best spin up in this game for sure. And then between like Jaylen Brown, Derek White, and Pritchard, I do prefer Pritchard right now. It's kind of starting to show the upside that he had last season but now in the starting role. So I think that he's going to be my favorite option on the Celtics because he should be guarded by Donovan Mitchell in this game.
Yeah, I'm with you. And to your point about Mitchell, like, yeah, he's been really good against Boston. And also, like, with the Cavs being so good in the regular season and then flaming out in the playoffs, I think you got to pick your spots with Mitchell this year. I think big game hunting with him, and this is a big game against Boston. So, yeah, like, I get that. He's overpriced for his median projection, but, like, it's not all about median projection,
Yeah, no, for sure. You got to factor in the upside. I just want to see if this game is nationally televised. I don't know if it's going to be.
I was realizing last night with the game on NBC last night, the Knicks Bucks, that there are so many more games on national TV this year. Yeah,
it's pretty crazy. I like that they did the Prime deal. I kind of like watching. I mean, the stream is way better than it was over on YouTube. The only thing I don't know if you can do this or not, but you can't have like the 4 games on at once. Just gonna have to get 4 TVs, I guess. Yeah, so this game is nationally televised, so you do get some longer timeouts, which should help Mitchell from a playing time perspective. I do agree that's kind of something you got to consider with it. Like, those are just the intangible things you can really add into projections, is like the narrative behind the game. So he could play hypothetically more minutes tonight to boost up his ceiling. Next game is definitely one I think that we're gonna have to have some interest in. We got probably the worst team in the league in the Brooklyn Nets facing off against the Hawks, who I don't think are, they're okay, but this game should definitely play faster. Hawks do like to play a lot faster pace than normal. Haven't really shown that pace this season. And then the Nets are dead last in transition defense by 5 more points than the next closest team, which is the Hawks. So there is some upside for both these teams. Hawks are dead last in rim defense. Nets are bottom 4 in rim defense, and they allow the second most threes per game. You could honestly close your eyes and pick somebody on the Hawks, and they're probably going to be in a really good spot here. The downside is this game does have some potential to blow out, but it seems like Vegas kind of expected to stay closer than usual. Not sure exactly the reason why. It could be because of these probable tags not being 100% healthy. Maybe Kristaps not 100% healthy, but either way, Hawks should win this one pretty handily. But if it does stay close, this is kind of one of the games that I was alluding to about adding some correlation, because Cam Thomas and Michael Porter Jr. are coming in with a good amount of ownership, and they project pretty well across the industry. Those guys are not getting there if this game isn't close. So I think that it kind of makes sense to pair those guys up with one of the main pieces on Atlanta. For me, Jalen Johnson is the guy that kind of sticks out in a really big way. He's always been a guy. I mean, I'm a huge Jalen Johnson guy for sure, but always like playing him against weak transition defenses and weak rim defenses. And the Nets definitely check off both of those boxes. I was looking back at some of his numbers against the worst transition defenses in the league last year, and I think he had some massive games against Washington, like 50 plus in each game, and then a couple of 40, like mid 40 pointers, which would be okay at his price tag. Definitely need the 50 plus here. But he's definitely a guy that kind of sticks out in a pretty big way for me for Atlanta. What are you seeing in this one?
So I'm a little bit torn because we see this eye to eye. I think that Atlanta is just too expensive for their median projection, but I do like their upside in a competitive game. And then Brooklyn is a classic, and you see like 1 or 2 teams like this season. Sometimes you don't, but this year they're the team where these guys are priced, and I'm talking about Cam Thomas and Porter Jr. really, where in non-competitive games, which is going to be a lot of their games, they're too expensive, and you just can't play them because they're not going to get full run, and they're going to be really disappointing. But in competitive games, they're way too cheap. And that's evidenced like in their game logs. Cam Thomas has 2 games of 20 or under fantasy points and 2 games of 44 or more. So if you're telling me this game is competitive against Atlanta here, he's too cheap at like 6,600 or whatever, 6,800, could easily hit 40 plus fantasy points, projects really well at that price point, getting love. And I'm with you. Like, there's no way that, these guys are getting there in a non-competitive game. So if it's competitive, I don't think it's competitive because it's like a lower scoring slugfest. It's competitive because both teams are scoring a ton. And that means you're probably going to want some Atlanta. I'm talking myself into, and you've kind of got me on the Jalen Johnson piece. Trae Young is too expensive. I'm cool with Porzingis, but like, he's not really like the piece I'm talking about or that we're talking about as far as like an up-paced matchup goes. I think he would be the second piece I'd play from Atlanta, but I'm in on Jalen Johnson here. And I like the 2 Nets players, Porter and Thomas, and I think playing all 3 of them together makes sense.
So I assume you have it ranked as Jalen, KP, and then Trae in terms of the spend-up guys for the Hawks.
Yeah, definitely. I struggle to get to Trae at 9,100 with Jalen Johnson healthy.
Yeah.
I could see just like playing a game stack of this game where I would want Trae, but he is the 3rd piece for me. How about you?
Yeah, I think I agree with you there. I'm just I don't know, man. Trae has been really tough to pinpoint. He had a pretty like good statistical game last time out with 17 assists and still only put up like 51 DraftKings points.
Right.
And he is just shooting the ball awfully right now. I mean, this guy was known to be like a 3-point shooter coming into the league. I believe he's shooting like 20% from 3-point range to start the season. Hasn't made more than 2 in a game, but he does have the double-double to fall back on. So if you can say that he gets to his like median career 3-point percentage, which might be in like the upper 30% range, then we're talking about, him getting close to 60 DK points, which would be great at his price tag. But I do think that the matchup is a little bit tougher for him. Just Schematic wise, under Jordy Fernandez, the Nets have always been a team that tries to take away pick and roll, and they'll definitely put 2 on the ball at times. So if anything, like he's going to have to get hot from deep, like scoring off ball, or just have a really, really big assist output game again, which I think is for sure possible. Didn't want to overlook Nickeil Alexander-Walker's been playing like 30 minutes off the bench in pretty much every game this season. And Onyeka Okongwu as well, been playing really good off the bench. Quinn Snyder's talked about those guys basically being extra starters. So it's going to be tough for, I don't know, like I guess everybody on the Hawks, but for those guys and like Dyson Daniels and Reece Shea in particular, like nobody's going to be running away with the minutes in a really big way. So it makes it tougher to get to the tertiary guys for the Atlanta pieces. I think that covers everything in that game. Yeah, I think that'll be everything in that one. We'll go over to the next one, which I would say is another very appealing game, as most Bulls games are. Surprisingly, the Bulls are undefeated right now and playing really good team basketball. Top 2 ranked defense, which I think is kind of a little smoke and mirrors. This is not a team that's really built to have great defense. They've just been getting very lucky with other teams not scoring on them. But they are giving up a ton of points at the rim, and they play fast. So it's always a really good spot to look at for a game environment. And then the Kings, talked about them a lot yesterday, kind of talked a lot of smack. I just don't really like the way that this team is built. Just got a lot of guys that do the same thing, a lot of guys that need the ball in their hands, and a lot of guys that love taking mid-range jumpers, which is just a losing game. But this is a good spot, I would say, with the pace up and then the matchups for guys like Sabonis. And I think Levine is actually in a decent spot. And then obviously if Russell Westbrook gets another start, he's going to be a pretty tough person to avoid at 4.5K. So, yeah, I think this is a game we're going to have to look to. But what is standing out to you from this one?
Yeah, so this game definitely stands out from a DFS perspective again, but it's not the only one. Already talked about a couple others that look good, and there's some other ones after this one. From the Sacramento side, it's tough to want to lock in anyone from Sacramento ever when they're healthy. That said, Westbrook, if he's starting again, his price tag looks really good, coming off that monster game last night. And then Sabonis for me. I know Wardo just said in the chat he's not fully healthy, and I don't know, maybe he's not. That said, his production has gone up every game. His minutes have been fine, in a good spot against the Bulls. Lack of spend-up options across the slate. I have some interest in Sabonis. I'd rather get to AD at a little bit more. Obviously Jokic, but this game is appealing. So just like we talked about the Brooklyn-Atlanta game, I think you could overstack this game for sure. Certainly pieces from Chicago we like. Sabonis is my favorite piece of Sacramento outside of Westbrook, but Westbrook at 4,500, presuming he's starting, looks like a really, really good value play.
Yeah, I'm with you on Sabonis. It is a good spot for him. Don't think that Vooch is a very good defender, and he should be able to get all that he wants around the basket. The thing that is keeping me off of him, he's not getting the assist. They've really changed his role, and that obviously makes a lot of sense when you got guys like Schroeder, Russ, Levine, DeMar, who all need the ball in their hands. They're not really running the offense through Sabonis as much anymore, so he's losing that triple-double upside that made him such a appealing fantasy option last season. With that being said, he is still pretty cheap for the talent that he provides and for the matchup. So I'm with you. I think that he's in a good spot here. I like Matas Buzelis a pretty good bit here. That I just don't really think that the Kings have very many good wing defenders, and he's playing, low 30 minutes. And I think this could be a spot where we see an uptick in rebounds. They've been really going away from Jalen Smith and going with Patrick Williams as a small ball 5, which I think that will help Matas in those minutes that they overlap together. So he's probably my first or second favorite option on the Bulls. I like both him and Trey Johnson a pretty good bit here.
Yeah, I like Matas. I think the big game's coming for him, but I also like Vooch and Giddey. Man, I don't really want to chase Vooch, but he's been productive. This is a good spot, 8,300. And then Giddey, same thing. And I think that the reason these guys, I don't want to say stand out, but at least are in play is just because there aren't a ton of good spend-up options. So these guys fall into the mid-tier, but they project as high-end mid-tier plays on a slate where they won't be hard to get to. So I like the Atlanta-Brooklyn game more if it stays competitive, but I think that game is more likely to not stay competitive. So I think this game is a little bit safer in that regard.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the Kings, they're not really a bad team. They have a talented roster. I think that they were in the game against OKC last night with a with a chance to win. So they definitely could keep it close. The only thing that's kind of concerning for me, especially for Sabonis, is the back-to-back, coming into the season with the hamstring injury, which is a little worrisome. But I agree. I think that they have a better chance of keeping it close.
My only concern there, and kind of the counter to what I just said, is they blew their wad last night in OKC trying to win that game, and they did not. And it's not like they're a great team. I do think that they have talent all over, but to your point, I don't think they're built correctly. So the Bulls are playing well. Like, I could see the Bulls winning this game handily, but it's not enough of a concern. Like, the Bulls are not good enough where I'm concerned about it. Talent-wise, I think these teams are similar.
Yeah. Got the homecoming game for Zach LaVine as well, if you guys want to buy into.
And DeRozan.
Yeah, DeRozan too. All right, but the next game we got is the Indy and Dallas game. So a lot of value coming from the Indy side in this one, obviously with all the injuries. I'll list them off real quick. But, obviously no Halliburton done for the season with the Achilles. Andrew Nembhard going to be out for a few more games. They didn't really say when he's going to be back. And then kind of a open timetable for Bennett Mathurin and Obi Toppin, who did get injured last few games. And then for the Mavs, they're going to be without Derek Lively, Daniel Gafford, and then probably Brandon Williams, who got arrested this morning on marijuana charges at the airport, which is kind of crazy that that's still happening now. But
right,
wild. That's a conversation for another time for sure. Also, there's a probable tag on Anthony Davis with the Achilles. He's had so many injury designations with the Achilles. I would definitely keep an eye on that. I don't think he's going to get downgraded, but I would not be surprised if he does. I mean, this guy's very I don't want to say he's very injury prone, but he has been in the past, been pretty healthy the last couple seasons. But definitely want to keep an eye on there. So the Indy value, what are you thinking here? Because I think that there's kind of a lot to talk through. Don't really know what they're going to do with the starting lineup. They very well could change it. I think Jay Huff was in their last game, but they could swap him out for Tony Bradley. We probably could see Ray J. Dennis start here, but they did also call up Mac McClung, so we got to kind of sparse through a lot in this game.
Yeah, for me, Indiana kind of starts and ends with Pascal. Not ends, but it starts, and really that's the main piece to talk over is Pascal, because it's kind of like the Brooklyn guys. In the two competitive games Indy has played this year, he has smashed 60-plus fantasy points. In the non-competitive game, he was awful. 8,400. He's getting a lot of ownership. I see projected across the industry. I could see him being a core piece tonight. Do you feel similarly about him starting there?
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, this is really tough to overlook his role that he's had. I mean, he's basically running the point guard role, led the team in touch time and assist percentage last game. And I mean, the spread is close, 6 points for a team that's going to be without all their guys, essentially. Like, Vegas is expecting this game to be close. So I think that he's probably the first guy you look to in single entry. Now, when it comes to large field stuff, you could probably make the case to get away from him. I think that he probably comes in a little bit higher than whatever his projected ownership is, which we have it at 23%. It's going to be more than that, I would imagine.
Yeah, I'm seeing him higher at other places, so I do think it'll be higher than that. And I do like this game. Dallas is not good. Indiana's decimated, but Dallas is just not good. So as favorites, I'm never trusting Dallas. Won't be surprised at all if Indy wins this game. So I think Indy certainly keeps it close. As far as the value goes, I do think we have to wait on the starting lineup, but the one guy that I think is going to look really, really good no matter what is Ray J. 3,800 has been productive. He's projected right now at some places to be the highest owned player on the slate. I get it. 3,800. Projecting well. He looks really, really good here. I do think that, again, to your point, we have to wait and see what this lineup looks like. Matt McClung throws a big wrench into it. Ben Shepherd also looks good, but his price tag is bumped up a little bit. I kind of want to take a wait and see approach with Indy.
I'm hoping that Ben Shepherd gets some ownership heading into the slate, because I just don't think that he's very good, and he's definitely not a point guard. So if people want to play him by all means. Give me Jarris Walker and Ray J. Dennis all day. I also think that Jarris is. I mean, I think Jarris is great. He's so
forgot about him.
Yeah, he's just such a better play than Ben Shepherd, in my opinion. I mean, Jarris is. They kind of ran him a little bit more as an on-ball guy in the second unit as well, which you're going to have to do. When Siakam's off the court, and especially if Ray J's starting and they kind of stagger him away from them, that leaves nobody in the second unit that could actually handle the ball other than Jarris Walker a little bit. So I think that there's kind of some sneaky upside for him, even coming off the bench.
Just to hop in there real quick, I also think there's some sneaky upside with him defensively. He was such a defensive stud coming out of Houston, like monster defensive stats, and that's still in there. And like when he's on the court, that's always in play. And I think that kind of combined what you said and that he's got big upside at that price tag.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, that's a great point that you made. They need size in this matchup. Even, with Lively and Gafford, this starting lineup for Dallas is still huge with Flag and PJ and Anthony Davis out there. Yeah, so they're going to need some size for sure. I would definitely keep an eye on what they're going to do with the front court, because it has been Jay Huff starting, but I think that they're going to go with Tony Bradley here. And that would make him a pretty solid option. Like if he's playing 20 to 25 minutes, that's going to be a really tough spot to get away from. But then you do get a little bit of leverage if you go with Jay Huff. So I would definitely be max one of those two guys. Actually, hold on. I might be wrong there. Are they having Isaiah Jackson come off the bench? Yeah, he is projected to come off the bench here. So I would probably say max one of Bradley and Jackson, potentially Jay Huff as well, depending on what they do in the starting lineup. But yeah, for sure, a spot you're going to need to decide on some value. And then on the Dallas side, I assume you have a good amount of interest in AD.
Yeah, I like AD a lot. I don't know if that's unfortunately or fortunately or whatever right now, but yeah, he should just really eat against this front court, and in a game I think is competitive. So, he hasn't been great this season. He's been better than Cade. He's more expensive. He's been more consistent, averaging like somewhere around 50 fantasy points per game. I haven't seen the monster upside, but it's coming. So he projects decent. His ownership is stable. It's not that high. I'm not seeing across the industry. So yeah, I like AD quite a bit here. I think this game has, I don't think on paper it looks as good as a couple of the other games we talked about, but I do think the upside is there here in a game I expect to be competitive. So playing like AD, Pascal, and then some of the Indiana value looks appealing to me.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you could even toss in like PJ Washington and D'Angelo Russell, who are both projecting pretty decently. I think D'Lo is pretty good at 5.3K. Just the Cooper Flag point guard minutes have not gone as good as they should have, or probably that they wanted them to do. And D'Lo kind of provides something that they don't have in the starting lineup. So I think that he's pretty good.
They were subbing out Flag late in that game, offense, defense with D'Lo. So I'm totally with you. I think D'Lo at that price is pretty affordable and has upside there.
Yeah. Flag's not listed on the injury report, but did have a shoulder injury in that game. He's probably fine because he's young and not on the injury report, but definitely something to keep an eye on. And then PJ, I mean, he's going to have to play a ton. He's probably going to be at worst matching Siakam's minutes because they're going to have him on Siakam. But there was a time a couple of games ago where he played 39 minutes and Jason Kidd was like, we need to play him more. I don't know how many more minutes you can give him, but definitely a guy that can get there just off of minutes alone. All right, next game on the slate, we got my Utah Jazz at home against the Portland Blazers. This game should be a lot of fun. I like these teams. Obviously, I like my Jazz, but I think Portland is a pretty fun watch right now. Love the addition of Drew Holiday, and I think that Jeremy Grant has been playing great off the bench. You got a stud in Denny Avdia, a really good center in Klingon, and then Shaedon Sharpe, Toumani Camara, two young guys I'm really, really high on. We're going to see the Jazz get into a lot of shootouts here. Their offense looks so much better, and I don't think that their defense is very good. They were the worst transition defense in the league last season, but had been better in their first few games this season. Did give up a good amount versus Suns last year, but they're going to be a team that gives up a lot of transition, a lot of three-pointers, because Walker Kessler is a really good rim protector. And then they're also a team that can turn the ball over a ton. Keontae George been playing great, but still think that this is a really young team with a lot of issues. But I still think that they can keep things competitive. As for Portland, they're playing pretty good defense, which is no surprise, adding Drew out there to play more on ball and then Donovan Clingan manning the middle. They're going to allow Drew to play a lot of one-on-one defense, which is what Boston did last year, which kind of led to some pretty big output for some lead handlers. So I don't think it's the worst spot for the guards for the Jazz. But yeah, I think that this game is another one that's got pretty sneaky shootout potential. We did just see what could happen in a game like this when the Suns and the Jazz went to overtime and you had pretty much 6 guys you needed from that game. Is there anything that is sticking out to you from either side in this one?
I'm totally aligned with you on this game in totality. I think this game has massive sneaky upside. price tags are going to keep people away. And like, I don't think there's one guy that I can sit here and say like looks great from a median projection price tag standpoint. But like, how do you not like look at Drew Holiday at under 7K with how he's playing, Shaedon Sharpe with upside, and then obviously you look at the Utah side with Keontae George, Walker Kessler, and man, Lauri Markkanen. Like, he has been so good to start the season. You don't expect what he did last time, but man, like, I think he's way under projected across the industry. His price tag is up, and I don't think like this production is going to continue, but in a game I think is competitive, under 8K, really low ownership, I'm in on Markkanen here. How do you feel about him?
Yeah, totally agree. I think that this is probably one of the tougher matches for him just because I think that Kamara is a elite wing defender, but there's a good chance that Lauri is just taking a huge step forward and they're kind of just saying, fuck it, like we're not going to tank anymore. Let's just play our main guys a lot of minutes. So I do kind of agree. I talked a little smack on him thinking that his price tag last game was a little bit too expensive for the upside that he had. And he put all of that to rest. Had a huge game, 51 points, first since Karl Malone, which was just a great game to watch for sure. But yeah, I kind of agree. I think that these guys might just be a little bit underpriced if Will Hardy is going to run them out there for heavy minutes. The guy that I like the most on the Utah side is going to be Keontae, though. I obviously respect Drew Holiday as a defender, but like I mentioned, that they're going to leave him on the island. And Keontae's low-key had one of the better roles for point guards this season. I believe he leads the league in touch time per game. And he does have a pretty solid pick and roll game with Walker Kessler, which the Blazers are a little bit subpar right now. So I think it's a pretty sneaky good spot for Keontae. I think I like him a little bit more than Lauri, but I do have Lauri ahead of Kessler. But I like Kessler a lot too. I mean, he's adding so much to his game this season, adding some 3-pointers, improving as a passer as well. So I think he's kind of in play regardless of matchup.
I'm with you. I do think this is another one. I don't think this has the variations, I should say, that Brooklyn and Atlanta has, but I do think this is a game where, like, because all these guys, for how they're projected right now, probably are a little bit overpriced. I could see playing a lot of them together. I personally think some of them are underpriced based on how I'm projecting them, but based on the industry's projections, I think that playing some of these guys correlated makes a lot of sense. And you don't even need like the monster OT game you got with Phoenix and Utah last time out, just a really competitive game where you're seeing big minutes from the Utah guys and the Portland guys. So definitely in play for me. I don't know if I like it more than some of the games we talked about earlier, but it's at least on that level.
Yeah, I would probably put it behind Atlanta and Brooklyn, but it is
Same.
Probably and probably Indy and Dallas too, but I would probably have it even or a little bit better than Sac and Chicago, I think.
Right there with you there.
Yeah, awesome. I didn't want to look over the what's it called, the Portland side though, because I do think that there is some good upside on guys that aren't really getting a lot of ownership. I think Drew is in a great spot here. Just it could be a game where he's always a guy that's going to add in the peripheral stats, but I could see him getting like 3 or 4 steals here as well, and then putting him over 40 DK points. So I think 6.8K, pretty good tag for him in the role that he has. I think he's second on the team in touch time, first in assist percentage, so looks pretty good there. Same thing for Klingon. I think that he's just a highly talented center that can get it done in any matchup. Do prefer Kessler a little bit more, just I think his minutes are safer. And then Shaedon Sharpe, Denny, Grant, and honestly Kamara, I would honestly all put in play here as well. Denny is their best player, their most talented player for sure. A little bit too expensive, I would say, just sharing the ball with all these guys. I do like Shaedon Sharpe to have a bounce back game here, though. He's shooting the ball really poorly, but last year had a breakout season offensively. Jazz are such a poor 3-point defense and are going to be a really bad transition defense. So 2 spots I could see Shaedon Sharpe really putting up a big scoring number. And then I think Grant is a guy that's going to be projected poorly and overpriced for his role coming off the bench, but he's their best 3-point shooter. So I kind of like him. If anything, take some props. 2.5, I think, is what I'm seeing on Grant. That looks pretty good.
Man, I think that the reason Portland is not getting a lot of love is because they got so many guys and you're not sure who to choose from. For me, it's Drew Holiday at the top of the list. And I think everyone else, like, I'm with you. Like, this is a benefit of when you're playing 150 sets like you can get to all these guys. As someone who's playing 3 lineups, I think tonight, Holiday is very likely the only guy I get to from Portland. Not
Yeah.
because I don't like those other guys, just because they don't look better than so many other spots on the slate,
Yep. Yeah, 100% agree there. That's why it's we got a good little thing going here with me being the 150 guy and you having a tighter player pool. It's a good little deal we got.
So
Appreciate the kind words, Josh. Appreciate that a lot. Last game on the slate, we got the game that is most likely to blow out with the Pelicans heading into Denver. I mean, the Pelicans look like the worst team in the West and probably the second worst team in the league behind the Nets right now. And this team is just a train wreck. I don't know what they're going to do with Zion. I think they probably got to get rid of him. But, yeah, I mean, they're giving up everything defensively, giving up a ton of threes right now. The rim defense is and probably always will be a below-average rim defense with the current roster iteration that they have. I just don't think Missy is that good of a rim protector. So I could really see this game getting ugly quickly for the Pelicans. Makes it kind of tough. Like if Jokic is not playing his full rotation, can he do enough to get there in 3 quarters? I would say probably yeah. Like he's done it multiple times in his career and in the same matchup, averaging a triple-double against the Pelicans. But I don't know. I'm very interested in Jamal Murray right now. Just he's really turned it up. I don't know if you saw the stat about like his October numbers over the last 2 seasons versus now, but he was averaging like 15.8 points per game in October over the last 2 seasons, and right now he's at like 30 plus. So I think that this is just a really, really good spot for him. But you can't really deny that Denver all around as a team are going to be in a good spot here. I doubt you're going to get to any Pelicans within your single entry 3 max stuff, but is there anything else that you're seeing that I'm not?
I love Jamal here. He might be my favorite play on the shape or on the slate. I heard someone say he finally came into shape.
Yeah.
I was just about to say he's healthy, under 8K, averaging almost 50 fantasy points per game. Like he looks elite here in all formats. You worry less about the blowout with him over Jokic because he's 7,800, where Jokic is full priced 11,500. That said, Denver plays with their food sometimes, and New Orleans, like especially if Zion plays, like they could be competitive here, at least competitive enough for Jokic to get full run. If he's in, he's the only guy I would even think about. If I'm playing Jokic, I think that adds to the appeal of playing Zion because it goes to the premise of if it's close, you obviously need New Orleans to get there, and Zion is the guy who will do that. If he's out, I'm interested in going back to Fears because he was so chalky last slate. Obviously let us down, let a lot of people down. Didn't get a price increase. He shot a ton, ball in his hands a ton. He's still only 4,500, and even in a blowout, I think he'll get run. So yeah. I like him if Zion's out. And I think you can go back to Trey Murphy, kind of in the same premise you would play Zion, where like if it's competitive, it's going to be Trey Murphy who has a big game. So it'd be the same guys, Fears and Murphy. I don't think they're priorities. I love Jamal, and then Jokic.
Yeah, I could not agree more there. I do like the Trey Murphy call. Decent matchup for him. He's kind of been ice cold to start the season shooting the ball as well, but I think that this could be a spot where if the game is close, he's probably a big reason why. Surprisingly leading the Pelicans in potential assists, just kind of add more upside to his game, doing a little bit more than he was in the past couple seasons as just like an off-ball guy. So I definitely could see him having a pretty solid night here. We got our Nuggets insider Trisket says that Nuggets don't take bad teams seriously. Yeah, definitely agree there. That would be kind of the ideal spot if you are playing a Jokic or Jamal where the game is like 12, 15 points. They're going back and forth a little bit, and they never get really pulled just because it's kind of close, but not.
And Denver's bench always stinks.
Yeah. Yeah, they definitely – I like what they did this offseason, but for sure, I mean, if Cam Johnson's out, that does hurt their depth a little bit because it's not great. Like Joe Val is an upgrade to what they had last year. Bruce Brown is a little bit of an upgrade, but although he's probably not the player that he once was. But Tim Hardaway Jr., I think, is a solid bench piece. But, yeah, it's not great by any means. So those non-Jokic minutes could go pretty poorly. So I definitely think that you'd want Zion to be in, which it sounds like he will be. If you are playing like a Jokic or Jamal.
Yeah, to your point, though, it is better than it's been in years past. I do also really like the additions and subtractions they made here. And I see Avery Zavala is asking Murray or Lowry $100 apart. I like Lowry a lot here, but for me, Murray might be my favorite play on the slate.
Yeah, I think I'm with you on that one. Just double checking on chat, see if I really missed anything. But yeah, we got through this one pretty quickly. Nice little 7-game slate tonight. I don't know if you got any closing thoughts here. Otherwise, I'll get us out of here.
No, I don't. Leaves us enough time. I got a box of frozen Topps cards to open with my 3-year-old daughter. So fun stuff over here.
Awesome. Sounds like a great time. Hopefully you pull some
a
good
Princess
cards
Actor 101.
There you go. No, I'm not the card guy, but I know we got a few guys. Okay. Our guy Pensac is pretty big into the cards. I don't know if he reached out to you, but I know we got some big card guys in the Discord. But yeah, that's going to do it, everyone. Good luck tonight, and I will be back tomorrow night. I believe we got an 8 p.m. stream for the Sabre series. We kind of touched on mine out a little bit at the top of the show. If he's starting, going to be pretty good, but would not be surprised if he's not starting. Yeah.
I just at 4K also, like, he's got a 25% price increase. I'm not interested there. Like, he got there last game, but I don't think he's going to be a guy that, like, I think this is the peak of his pricing personally.
I think I agree with you there. This is a different matchup too. Like, I don't think we're going to be getting a double-double from him again. They were playing New Orleans, so it's a different spot here. I'd probably be off of mine, not even if he is starting. Let everybody else chase the big game. But all right, that's going to do it. Good luck, everyone. See you guys on Friday back with Hamwich, and then tomorrow night for the Sabre series. See you later.